Hi, my name is Adesemowo from Social Lender. I'd like to tell you about a problem that exists in Africa and how our solution, especially the social reputation score, is solving this problem and impacting the rest of the world. Over 50% adult Africans lack access to formal credit. What seems to be the problem here? Trust. The financial institutions have no way of trusting these people. There is no way to ascertain their willingness and ability to repay their loans. The traditional credit score is broken. This is the problem Social Lender was birthed to solve. We realize that people are connected in myriads of ways, online, social media, and mobile, and leave behind a digital fingerprint. Even offline connections can be digitized. All of this feeds into the social reputation score, which is the main asset. The social reputation score takes a look at people's engagements, their connections, their network to form the asset.
Financial institutions can now extend formal credit and other financial services to the underbanked and the unbanked, basically people at the bottom of the pyramid. For us, it's exciting that we're in 2 countries, 6 financial partners. In Nigeria, our solution is being used as an end-to-end lending platform. Also, in South Africa, with partnership with Absa Bank, formerly Barclays Africa, our API is currently being made available for the Absa API marketplace, which will enable us expand or scale to 6 countries in Africa. Beyond lending in Africa, the social reputation score can be used to solve some of the challenges around KYC, which is know your customers, around pensions, around insurance, and some challenges that migrants have and students who find themselves in new societies.
We have been able to adapt our technology to work for different channels. Our solution is useful for every level of the economic pyramid. Not everybody actually have access to smartphones, and not everybody have internet. It's because of that that we also have channels of USSD and SMS for the bottom of the pyramid, for these people that do not have internet. The unbanked and underbanked don't just need access to our technology. They need financial literacy to be fully financially included. This is why Social Lender has embarked on creating a network of offline ambassadors and agents and local guides who are able to teach these people digital financial literacy curriculum that we have developed. These people are able to be educated where they need to be educated using the language that they understand. Our solution uses multiple data points. We make use of data sciences. We do not use any data without the explicit permission of the end user.
We're excited about our journey so far, and we look forward to doing much more. What we're doing is we're building a social network for trust and credit. We're changing and impacting lives one person at a time.
Hi, my name is Bade Adesemowo. I'm the CTO and co-founder of Social Lender. At Social Lender, we offer financial services based on social reputation.
Now, this is like fun for me because I'm very lucky that I get to meet amazing people all over the world. And you are one of my beautiful friends, Bade, that I got to meet in Morocco in January. And you weren't able to come here in March, but I got to meet you in January. And I find what you're doing is interesting, but I want to know who you are first. So where are you? Where did you come from? And what was the process of you getting to where you are right now? So I don't want to hear about the business yet, but tell me who you are.
Interesting. So I'm currently in Lagos, Nigeria. That's the commercial capital of Nigeria. So who am I? That's a very interesting question. So I would say I've always been in tech. So ever since when I was in school, I was that little kid that was very interested in fiddling with all sorts of things, technology, not just technology, TV, remotes, and fixing things. Right? So that's who I am. I studied electrical engineering in university. That was in the University of Lagos. And then that was for 5 years. But while I was doing that, I was always doing stuff in IT as well. Technology, sorting out phone, and quite a number of things along that line. Right after school, I started partnering on a company that does consulting. The company still today being called ICT Solutions. And over a period of time, I've done technology things in Nigeria, one future technology. 2010, actually, it's 10 years ago. But yeah, just been in tech and doing stuff all along, up until the point when I started Social Lender. And then, yeah, I am today. So you can think of me as that tech person doing technology all his working life.
So, all right. So the connection broke up a little bit. So I just want to go back a little bit. So the technology was always something that you enjoyed, and you just love taking things apart and putting them back together. With that kind of a mind, you could have done anything and everything. Anyone that is just so curious could be so many different things. Why did you choose to focus on fintech? And why do you believe that it would benefit where you live right now?
Yeah, set out for
Wait a second. I'm so sorry.
say I literally.
Well, I want you to repeat again. I want you to repeat.
To be honest, when we started, it wasn't even called fintech.
Wait. I want you to repeat because the connection broke apart a little bit.
Connection again. Can give me 1 second? Let me turn to a different connection.
Okay.
Hopefully that should be better. Yeah,
okay,
give me
perfect.
1 moment.
So stay tuned, audience. We're changing over connections.
Okay, are we back?
We're back. Okay.
Okay, we're back. Okay, good. So this should be better, hopefully. Down here, we have to swap connections from time to time. So when one isn't working, then the other should work.
Okay.
It's working. Okay, cool. So what was the question? I forget.
The question is like, so your mind. I mean, you're such a.
Oh yeah.
In regards to the way that you think, you are always taking things apart. You're putting things back together. Your mind could have gone into so many different directions. Yeah. Why fintech?
Yeah. So I didn't. That's what I was saying. That I actually didn't set out to do fintech. In fact, it was more stumbling into fintech. And in fact, when I got into fintech as we know it now, it was not called fintech, or at least I did not know it was called fintech as at then. For me, it started with working with banks. And what we were doing for banks in the early days was social media. We were helping banks to deploy their social media. So some of the very large banks in Nigeria, I was involved with deploying their social media, deploying apps on their social media and things like that. So it was more technology and then technology in banking. And that's part of how we then started stumbling on some of the issues that existed that we could solve. We were uniquely positioned to solve it. In terms of technology, yeah, so I could have been, at some point I wanted to be an astronaut.
Right? I love it. And then I think that everyone would love to be an astronaut. I mean, I'm obsessed with NASA. Well, now Elon Musk, but space.
Yeah, so I didn't realize then that I was born in Nigeria, and it's a very difficult thing to be an astronaut. So it's probably easier to have a lot of money and then book one of the flights that will start, one of the commercial flights later on in the future. Anyway, so I've just been always around that technology, fiddling with things. So when computers were popular, I was one of those kids that had computers. I was one of those kids that burnt a lot of phone bill on internet because you were just fiddling with stuff, AOL back then. And yeah, I remember there was a bill that came and it was a ridiculously high bill. It was almost like a 1 month salary. Basically, I was dialing up and browsing, and yeah, I am today anyway. And thanks to my dad and mom back then, I paid those bills.
The amount of things that entrepreneurs do when they're younger, the stories are just endless. So I always want to find out what you did when you were younger to get to this point. And clearly that was it, which is good. What was it that led you to the company now? What happened that you're okay, this is needed? What was the pain point?
So it was more of working with banks back then, we started realizing something really was that the banks were only lending to 5% of our population, right? So even someone like me back then could not get access to loans. And then by the time you started interacting with the bankers, they started telling us things like, oh, you guys are too risky. Young people can't pay. Young people don't pay, right? So they would not even bother for that market. Not to talk about the people that were even at the bottom of the economic pyramid. At the same time, social media was young then, and we were seeing the fact that, oh, there's much more you can do with this. Yes, people will say it's about faffing around, but we realized that, oh yeah, these are things, this is data and this is information that we could use for people's reputation. I mean, now we don't use social media, we use more of people's community, whether offline or online. But the way we got into this was from social media. So our first solution was just Facebook based and was based on your friends on Facebook and so on. But over time, we've now iterated to a point where we are now doing offline connection, which is even much more than online connection for us now.
So I just want to get it clear. So I want to go for a loan, and before I go for a loan, my name goes through your system, through the bank. So I go to the bank, they use your system, and your system basically does an entire search of who I am, what I do, my reputation, and then the validity of whether I'm going to pay or not.
Yeah, so actually what we do in Nigeria is the bank uses our system. So if you want a loan, you actually come on our system, okay, which we are partnering with the bank. So it's an end-to-end lending platform. In terms of the scoring, yes, we're getting data from you, but we don't go search. You give us access to the data you want us to access, right? And part of the reason for that is, I mean, this was even before GDPR, but luckily by the time GDPR was being passed in Europe, we were already compliant, because for us, it was about you giving us that access, and then our solution can then start taking a look at that information, right? We're looking at a lot of indices and points that we figured out already to say, yes, one thing may not say much about you, but by the time I start combining hundreds, 150, 200, 500, thousands of indicators, it starts telling a story. And that story is about your reputation.
Does anyone ever have any concerns, whether it's the bank or it's the individuals that are using your system, about security, about their personal items being spread anywhere else?
Yeah, definitely the banks. So the typical bank, before we go live with them, it takes almost at least 6 months, right? And part of the things going on in that 6 months is audits, risk, and so on. So there's a bank that we went through 7 different legal departments before we could go live. 7 different lawyers. So there was the ones for audit, there was the one for risk, there was the one for IT security, and so on. And everybody just had different concerns that needed to be solved. So definitely from that. For our end users, there are a few that, raise concerns, check privacy. But what we found is a lot of users just tick accept, right? But for us, we need to be ethical. So we make sure that even for those few people that would dig, they would find the right things that they ought to find.
I feel that people just press there's all these words, and people are so more apt to sign because they just don't understand a lot of it. So that's why they just okay, check, not a problem. They're assuming if I'm forming a relationship with this establishment, they're not gonna do something bad to me. Assumption.
Mm-hmm. And well, for most of those terms and conditions, they are too long. So what we try to do is have something like a summary, 3 sentences and all of that. Then if you want to read more, you can read more, right? Because it's just too long for you to be reading 6-10 pages and all of that. And how many of that would you do? Would you do really?
No, I mean, full disclosure, I went for my birthday. One of my birthdays, I took 20 friends skydiving, and before you went skydiving, the packet that you had to sign was this thick. But for me, I looked at them like, if it's my day, it's my day, because I'm with my and I want to jump out of the plane. So I'm one of those people where depending on the document, especially, if it's my business, I'm reading every line with a ruler. But when it comes to like the amount of fun things that I do that I don't read it, I just sign on the dotted line. I get it. I totally understand. What has the pandemic done for you? I mean, like personally, like how's your family, how your colleagues? What has the pandemic done for you and as well as the company?
Well, for me, it's we've gotten to spend much more time together at home. So that was good, very good, in fact. So I had about 3-4 different trips. The story, each one of them started getting cancelled one by one, which was very interesting. For our colleagues as well, I mean, luckily for us, we've not had to lay off anyone. We've been able to start working remotely. And in fact, we've literally now changed to a fully remote operation, right? It's not something we would have thought of doing for the next 4 years. We were working towards it gradually with flexi hours and things like that. But all of a sudden now, we're now 100% remote. So for me to be at work now, I just need to be in my study, right? Our offices are open across the 6 places where we are. But you don't have to go there. You only need to go there if you don't have power or you have issues with your internet and so on. But there is no physical meeting anymore. Any meeting anyone wants to do needs to be done digitally. So if anyone needs to go to the office, it's because of that. It's because they want to, and it's also at their own risk. Yes, we provide all the wash your hands, sanitizer, and all of those basic things. But generally speaking, we just want everybody to stay home, stay safe, and then still be able to work productively. It's not perfect yet, so let me just mention that there's still a lot of kinks in the system, but we are ironing them out as they come along. We're learning. We have teams now that have to stay on a call throughout the day because we've had issues of, I was doing work, but you were not really doing work and all of that. So yeah, so it's very interesting and it has literally transformed us as a business. Personally as well, I get to spend much more time at home. So this week I've only stepped out twice. So that's a good thing.
So how has it been? So since well, I mean, what's the date? So I was in Mexico. I was in Mexico at the beginning of March, and then I started what's happening in the United States. And then the second I got back on March 13th, and the borders of Mexico was closed. And so pretty much we've been in lockdown since March 15th to now, and now we're just starting to open things now. Where are you now in regards of when did it start, and how is when do you guys open?
So when did lockdown start? I think lockdown started in March. Yeah, it must have been March. Towards the end of March middle of March. Around middle of March or thereabout was when the lockdown started. What has happened? So we were locked down for about 6 weeks, and then what happened 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago is gradual reopening. So it started with you could go out, but you need to be back indoors before 8 o'clock, right? And then and offices needed to close by 3 p.m. So offices could open 9 o'clock to 3 p.m. Where we are as at this moment is the curfew is now 10 p.m. So churches are not allowed to open yet. Restaurants are not allowed to open, but offices are allowed to open till 5 o'clock, but only 50% capacity. So it means that only half of your staff can come into work every week. So that's where we are at the moment. We are really afraid that there may need to be a second lockdown in Lagos because the numbers are rising and all, and we are hoping that people will just do the responsible thing. A few prominent people also died recently from COVID, and so that in itself was a shock to the average Nigerian. Yeah. But that is for us as the elite, because the truth is out there, the average man, right, does not care about COVID. And the reason is because, they are fighting and weeding off poverty, just trying to make ends meet. And so for them, that's the higher priority than wearing a mask outside and things like that. So that's where we are at the moment. And we are watching and praying.
No, I think that's what we're all doing, because I mean, there's so much conversation about everything that everyone's just like, okay, just like, let's just make sure that we wake up tomorrow morning and just like figure out new ways to get advanced. How are you handling not being with your team? I mean, you're the owner of a company. You're at home, you have your family, but you're running a business, and you're dealing with people that, I mean, they're at home, they're working for you. How are you dealing with the emotions and the anxiety that your team is dealing with in their homes, in their office, etc.?
Yeah, so I think for us it's more flexibility. So what we do on the average right now is we do 2 check-in calls every day. And those check-in calls, one in the morning, one in the evening. And we've also insisted on people doing daily reports, just to let us know this is what you did today, this is what you plan to do tomorrow, and so on. But yeah, in meetings, you hear one of your colleagues' child crying. And if they need to go see their child, they need to go see their child, right? If we need to adjourn the meeting or pause for 15 minutes, that's what we need to do, because that's just the way, that's the new normal. Well, seeing the team, the truth is, even I don't want to visit anyone right now, truthfully, right? Because for me, I'm treating everyone as if they have COVID. I mean, everyone outside my house, basically. And I expect they should do the same for me, right? For me, that's part of staying safe. So video call, yes. Phone call, yes. But meetings, for me personally, no right now. And so I think for the company as well, it's the same thing.
How do you think that the industry, your industry, will change because of COVID? I mean, where again, the pandemic has done a lot. You're in the financial world, and it's not just like local, but it's global. Yeah. And then you're seeing all the different situations that are happening in the United States on top of the pandemic. So our two major pandemics, and we're going to an election year. So the election year is going to be nothing. So we're in the United States, we're having 3 major things that will affect the financial economy. So what does that do for you? But also overall, what do you see is happening with, or I mean, what do you see will happen with your industry?
Yeah, so let me mention is 3 major things so far that we've seen, because we are still in June. So you don't know what else may happen later in the year. Yeah, but in terms of the industry, so it was pretty interesting. It started with everybody literally shutting down, nobody knowing what is going to happen next. I'm talking from a bank perspective, because for us, we sell mostly to banks, commercial banks and microfinance banks. What we are seeing now is a lot of them have realized they now need to digitize, right? And so we're getting a lot more calls out of the blues. We are getting a lot more interest for people that blew us off just 6 months ago. And we're getting more. I mean, we haven't signed any deal currently, but we do have quite a number of them in the pipeline, and we're very hopeful, right, that it would work. But we see more interest now, digitizing and all of that. For some of the banks, they are laying off, or they already plan to lay off. But we are saying that the central bank here is saying nobody should do anything yet. But literally speaking, a lot of banks already have people earmarked to be laid off, just waiting for regulatory approval to do that. On the fintech side, I suppose we are luckier in terms of our industry, because most of us were already digital in the first place. And so we are seeing higher adoption rates. We're seeing new customers coming onto our platform. And I know it's the same thing for quite a number of other people that at least I have a relationship with. We're seeing more customers just signing up. Of course, we've had to reduce costs in terms of marketing spend. We've had to reduce costs in terms of some of the things we would typically do. But we are seeing customers coming and still coming. So I think it's a good sign for us, generally speaking, both from our banking partner side, where there's more interest, and also from the user side, where there's more adoption of digital solutions such as ours.
In a perfect world, everything goes back to somewhat normal. I know in a perfect world, everything goes back to somewhat normal tomorrow. So what would your first day be if everything was the new normal? We're fine. There's a vaccine. We all get to go out. What's your first day look like?
You see, I'm very boring, but my first day will be just staying at home.
You're already at home. You can't go. You have to pick something else. You can't just be home.
So after 1 month of making sure everything is fine, and then I would do a travel, right? So there are a few things that was on our bucket list. So doing a cruise, for example, has always been in our bucket list. And so that's something that we would quickly do before they stop doing cruises totally.
If you met someone, so like right now, so many people are at home. I mean, so many people are globally, everyone's at home. People are starting to just get out, which is like it's summertime here in the States. So people are just starting to get out. Mm-hmm. But someone realizes I've been working at home for a company, and I was like, and I've always wanted to start my own thing. I've always wanted, but I never had the courage or I never had the time to think about it. But now I'm working from home. I don't have to wake up. I don't have to get ready for work. I don't have to do the commute. So that just gave me extra time to think of my thing. What would you say to someone that wants to start their own new business? Because you did it and you could have gone anywhere. What advice would you give to anyone that wants to start or is thinking about starting?
So I would say start now. Start immediately, but don't start by quitting your job. Start by just laying down the foundations and start by getting your first client, your second client, and so on, right? You have extra time now, and you've actually always had extra time, but the truth is there's more extra time now. And so you can decide to take a second job, but take that second job in your own company, right? So if it's 4 hours a day, 5 hours a day, and then just start building, if it's you building or start marketing, whatever it is, basically start doing it. And then when it starts getting some sort of traction, right? I usually would advise have at least 6 months to 1 year savings to say if nothing comes in at all. I mean, it's almost impossible for that to happen. But if nothing comes in at all for 6 months to 1 year, you will still be fine. You will still be able to eat and all of that, right? So you may want your day job to be able to build up that savings, but start immediately. There's no better time. Yesterday was probably better than today, and there won't be any much better time again. So just start immediately, and then also be disciplined. So, I mean, if it's 4 hours you can afford a day, spend that 4 hours on something productive. Don't do 4 hours today, and then in 3 months' time is when you remember and then do another 4 hours. You will not go anywhere that way. Literally speaking, go to work in your company, right? I mean, in the eyes of the law anyway, the company is not you in the first place, right? And of course, if you're not registered, register the company and all of that. So start now. That's what I would say.
I love that you just said this. I'm going to steal this because I love it so much that you just said something where you just said, yesterday was better than today. I love that. I love that. No, it's true because I mean, when's the best time to start? Yesterday. It was like yesterday. So, well, because people are always thinking, I'll do it, and they just don't do it. And for me, I'll procrastinate, but I get it done. And everyone's like, you come up with so many different ideas. For me, I'm thinking I'm slow, and everyone is like, you have so many ideas and you're doing so many things. And in my mind, I'm like, I'm not doing enough. It's not doing enough.
Oh, wow.
I know. It's like, and you've met me, so you know, I'm like, I mean, the energy is high, but also the production of what I'm coming up with. What things what things have you added to your company? Like, so you said that you're online, which you would have never thought about doing that right now. You were going to do it, but you weren't going to do it right now. Are there any other products that you saw that now that you had the time to think about it, that you could have added to like what the offerings were for the banks?
Yes. So we've been pivoting in the last 1 year. So when we started with credit, right? And that's what we've been doing for the last 4 years or thereabout. Over the last 1 year back, we've actually been pivoting but there have been a number of things that we've not had a chance to build. So we have a deposit and withdrawal offering now on the platform that will soon be launched. We are also launching airtime purchase on our platform. We're also launching bill payment on the platform. And so those are things that, I mean, we didn't really have time to do, but now that we've had to work remotely, some things had to slow down. And so those were new projects that we could literally push forward to say, hey guys, we want to have these things running right now. And of course, there's demand now, and we want to keep more people on the platform. So yeah, we're now building things. We've not launched them, but we will be launching within the next 1 month. At least the bill payment will be launching within the next 1 month. We have a very interesting one as well, which is for cashing out at our agent points, or even if you don't have an ATM card and you don't have a POS around you, you can actually get cash from your bank account. So we think that will be a game changer as well, and we're building that.
How are you, I just want to get your opinion. I mean, okay, you can't speak for the entire continent, but I want to hear your opinion. How do you feel that Africa, the continent, is doing in comparison with, in fintech, in comparison with the other continents?
Okay. Post-COVID, is that what you mean?
Well, even in the advancement of technology, just like, I met you guys,
okay.
I met all of you, and I was just so impressed with so many things that are being done that more and more people need to do. But about how is the advancement of, for you, fintech doing in your eyes in comparison to other countries?
Oh, wow. Okay. So the truth is, fintech, we have unique problems in Africa. Very unique problems that people in the West, in more advanced countries, do not see, right? And so we've had to innovate things that people in the West and more advanced countries that may not have worked there. So you can think of M-Pesa, which is very popular. It came out of a need, right? You can think about some of the things that some of us are doing as well in terms of fintech. It comes out of specific needs that we see in our own side of the world. The interesting thing is some of these things can even be exported, right? Of course, yes, it needs to be more stable and all of that, but it can be. Mobile money is something else that has really grown, and it's really grown because of Africa. Airtime lending, airtime, borrow me credit, airtime lending, things like that. So we've seen a lot of interesting innovation that happens because some basic infrastructure that you would expect are not there, right? So I think we're doing very well. I think we're doing very well with our own specific and unique challenges. I think we can do better, but the truth is, I think we're growing faster. If you consider where we are coming from, we're growing faster than the typical fintech in more developed countries.
Amazing, I love it. So I'm gonna have my last question. Actually, no,
okay.
Before my last question. So the family's doing good. You guys are all doing good when you're together all the time now.
Well, so I have the study. My wife has the dining, so we are fine. And we have family time in between. So
okay, good. So you guys are getting things done, and then you've done very well together in this entire process.
Yes, we have.
Okay, good. I like to check on everyone to make sure they're okay, that you married well, that you're doing good. Good.
Yeah.
As a last question, if you had something to ask personally and professionally of everyone and anyone that's watching you right now with me, what would be your personal ask and what would be your professional ask?
Interesting. Let me take the professional one first. Would be mentor someone. Pull one person up. Just one. I mean, you can do more if you can, but just find one person that is where you used to be 5 years ago, 10 years ago, and bring them up. Help them to navigate the challenges that you had in the past. And I'm not saying just personally, but professionally as well. If every one of us was able to do 1, 2, 3 people, I think the world would be a much better place. So I would say mentoring and mentorship. For personal, so Social Lender, our company is doing amazing things, and we need to raise funding. We need to raise investment, And that's when the market at the moment for fundraising. And so if you want to check us out, just Google Social Lender. You'll find some of the amazing things we're doing, and you may be interested in investing in us.
Bade, oh, so nice to hang out with you for a little bit.
Oh, wow. Thank you so much. Really appreciate.
Well, you know, I mean, I have to say that 10 years ago when you remember 10 years ago when the economy was bad the last time.
Yeah.
This technology. I mean, we didn't have Zoom. We had Skype. This was not around, but this came out of the 10 years of someone realizing there was like a frustration, and he built this. And so to know that I can just pick up the phone and organize a conversation with my friends that are in Africa, which is so amazing. And for people to understand that people around the world that own small businesses are still working hard with their team and doing great.
Yes,
so I appreciate you so much. I love that I met you. I love that you're here. I love that I can tap into your brain whenever I need to. And I love this conversation. And thank you very much for taking time out of your day. Because what time is it?
Thank you so much. So it's 8:38 right now.
Right, so you can be with your family time, and you're spending time with me. So I appreciate you taking a little bit of your family time away just to talk to me and just to share to everybody what you do and how you do it and why you do it. And hopefully.
And thank you.
No, but I was gonna say, hopefully one day we are on the same shuttle, or we're like, I go, hey, Bade, I'll meet you on the moon.
That would be nice. That would be very, very nice. But I plan to actually take the commercial space flight. It's on my bucket list.
Oh, that's a good. No, I do love that because
it's just.
Go ahead.
So I was just saying that, I mean, I know within the next 5-10 years, it will become a thing, and it's on my bucket list, literally speaking.
Yeah, so I'm with you where, I mean, I've done all the continents but Antarctica. So once I finish Antarctica and then I finish all the marathons that I'm doing, then I'm like, it's gonna be my next thing. So yes, I'm with you. That is definitely something in my lifetime. I definitely want to do that.
Oh yes. So maybe I'll meet you on the moon.
Moon, Mars, whichever one will be, like, whichever one has the best.
No, I'm not going to Mars. I'm not going to Mars. No Mars for me.
If you say the moon, you might, like, it's the same thing, kind of.
It's going to take 2 years to get there,
Oh, never mind then. All right, the moon. Thank you so very much, my friend. I really totally appreciate what you do.
Thank you so much.
All
really
right.
appreciate it. Yeah, bye.
Bye.